Welcome, my friends. I hope you guys are all doing well. And today, guys, we're here with some very exciting news that truly flew under the radar. So apparently on the 26th of February, Creative Assembly did indeed have a stream where they revealed a lot of information relating to the future of Warhammer 2, while also touching upon some very juicy information pertaining to Warhammer 3, which I'm very excited about, to say the least. Now, before we begin, I want to give a thanks to Overkill257 for sharing this information to Discord. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel in the comment section below. And I also will be referencing the notes put together here by Weston Sammy of the SFO team on Reddit. So on that note, guys, let us begin. So the first note to talk about is that Thanquol will not be coming before Game 3. 100% confirmed, not coming in Game 2. So for those of you guys who don't know who Thanquol is, he's really one of the most iconic characters in Warhammer Fantasy, especially in literature. So if you've read the Gotrek and Felix books, Thanquol is one of the characters that, aside from Felix, you're getting a lot of perspectives, and he kind of gives you the perspective of the bad guys and also really gives you a good insight into Skaven culture and just how truly absurd the Skaven are. Now, Thanquol is a Gracier, a very powerful caster for the Skaven, very cunning indeed. He has his famous pet rat ogre who, well, I probably shouldn't get too far into that. There's a lot of good stuff in the books, and I don't want to kind of spoil this trope that perhaps I was discussing, but Thanquol will not be coming before Game 3. But, you know, I kind of can see how Thanquol would be kind of like an end times character or a really big kind of capstone type character. So honestly, I'm not upset about this. I think Skaven have gotten some really good stuff like throughout the course of just all of Warhammer. They've been treated very well. You've had Clan Skryre, you have had Clan Eshin, and I'd imagine Thanquol will come in Game 3, maybe as like a free LC or like, I don't know what faction they would bring him with. Because I mean, I know they would have Clan Molder, right? And there's a bunch of Skaven clans, but I guess Thanquol could be, you know, kind of an add-on or just like something that when Game 3 comes out, they just add him as like a unique benefit to Skaven or something. I don't know, we'll see. But definitely very excited to see Thanquol. But yeah, just, you know, the fact that he's confirmed to not be in Game 2 kind of in itself is like a confirmation that he probably will come in Game 3, which is very exciting. So the next here is Creative Assembly is looking to update all races to even the playing field in Warhammer 2. So this is new lords and units and things like that. So that definitely gives me some hope for sure for some factions that are a little bit starved for DLC. If you look at the Dwarves, for example, they haven't really gotten much. They got Giant Slayers, they got Gotrek and Felix, and of course they got the King and the Warlord DLC, which was like back in the days of old. I mean, that feels like another lifetime to me. So I definitely am hoping to see some updates for like them and the Wood Elves. Granted, I think the Dwarven campaign isn't bad. I don't think the Dwarven campaign needs too many tweaks. It's engaging, the rune system's fun and crafting. And of course they have some good challenges, but nonetheless, I would like to see the Dwarves get some new units perhaps. And yeah, I mean, there's other cool characters you could add. I think for the Dwarves, you could add someone like Malachi Mykosin, the guy who flies the huge airship and is like a really cool engineer type character. And of course, there's other legendary Dwarves you could add. You could have Joseph Bugman. I can see him kind of appearing as kind of this iconic figure in Game 3 as well. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. So Creative Assembly is aware that order factions in in campaign are very strong, and you know this is something I think we saw when we jumped into the new what was it? The Proving Grounds. The Proving Grounds beta that came out recently. I actually played a Queek campaign on Legendary difficulty, and what I noticed is that the Dwarves were losing to the Greenskins. The Empire was actually struggling against the Vampire count, so I think the Proving Grounds beta, and of course the fact that CA is aware of this, will lead to a better balance in the future. And yeah, honestly, the Proving Grounds beta, though it's not in existence anymore, I think they're going to take some of the feedback from that, see that, you know, the Dwarves were losing and actually struggling, and so was the Empire, and I think it was a more balanced experience in some respects, at least pertaining to faction on faction. So I think that's a nice point to discuss. Another thing Creative Assembly said is not to stress about Grimoire Ironhide. He will soon be the best. So I mean, come on, that's a tell, right? That we're going to be getting perhaps some Greenskin DLC. Very excited to see what they do with Grimoire. I think just giving either, give him, boosting his stats isn't really enough unless it was just an absurd boost. I think Grimoire is going to need some like really good abilities, like something like Hunter of Champions, Effigy of the Git type thing, something that like is a big localized WA that really is like better than other WAs perhaps. But it's exciting to hear that Grimoire will be improved, because he, as well as many other Footlords, have just been terrible for a long time. And what we see from Grimoire, I think, will be a roadmap going forward with how to fix characters like Sigvald and things like that. So apparently Creative Assembly also wants to add more battle terrain, like shrines and spooky forests and arcane kind of structures on the battlefield. And one of the issues apparently was that getting the AI to recognize how to use these, might be a bit of a problem. But I think that would be really cool for immersion. And as someone whose entire channel is focused on, capturing battles, and yeah, more focused on the multiplayer and kind of effectiveness aspect of things rather than aesthetic. But nonetheless, I still appreciate the aesthetic, and I think it would only serve to improve battles and any. From your experience, from my experience, I think that's just a huge win for sure. And man, I'm just getting more and more amped for Game 3. So Creative Assembly said they will consider adding a special building on Albion for Norska. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing. I mean, obviously, I don't know too much about Albion and Norska, but yeah, I mean, giving anything cool to Norska would be quite neat. Quite neat. They did also say Toddy will perhaps get his own content at some point.
Catback One Eye is on the prowl again!
Middenland will become its own faction. Nothing pertaining to when that day would come, but this could be something we'd see before Game 3, or it could be something that when you have this big chaos incursion in Game 3 potentially, you have Kislev becoming a faction most likely, and then you have Toddy and Middenland being another bastion against Norska and other threats of the north. So I can see Toddy being like some sort of a free LC or some sort of like a Rapunzel type DLC for Game 3, which would be very exciting. Also, another thing they talked about, we've seen this in Three Kingdoms, is seeing the dueling system. So they were talking about duels for Warhammer 3. I really hope this doesn't happen. I think duels are kind of a clunky mechanic, and it's just kind of silly. And honestly, it was something I really, it's kind of fun as like a gimmick, like when you first see it, like, oh, that's really cool. But in functionality, I think the duels already happen. You have these characters going fisticuffs. I think just adding more things like interlocked attack animations and all that sort of good stuff would be more like when you see Malekith and a dragon kind of spiraling and fighting and these synced animations, I think those are way cooler than a full-on engaged duel that honestly most people will avoid simply because it's too dangerous. So sieges are going to be overhauled apparently for Game 3. That is huge news to me. I've been playing a ton of campaign lately. I know I'm more focused on multiplayer, but I have been hitting campaign pretty hard and would like to in the future in Warhammer 3 have a ton of campaigns. I do enjoy it a lot and I have been enjoying it more and more. Now, overhauling sieges, the one thing in campaign when I get in, I'm just like, just end me, bro, just kill me, is I really, really don't like siege battles. It's something I want to skip all the time. It's one of the biggest drawbacks for me wanting to do campaign. So if they can overhaul siege battles and make them quite epic and grand in scale, man, that's just a game changer. That's really going to kind of set the game to a whole new level. And that's been one of the constant critiques we have seen of this game since its juicy inception. Another thought, moving Grombrindle apparently is on the board, giving him enough for another start location. I think that'd be cool. I mean, with the Dwarves, you obviously have, Grombrindle, you could really start him anywhere, right? You could even give him a Lustrious start. Granted, I wouldn't recommend that probably, but yeah, you could move him anywhere on the map. You have Karak Kadrin, you have the Dwarves. I think giving him, in Belagar, of course, but yeah, having another fourth spot I think would be really cool to kind of really make him feel like a unique experience. Grombrindle's already like a super powerful campaign character. And, maybe when, Game 3 does come, you move Grombrindle up further north so that the vanilla dwarf faction, the old school dwarves, are able to get their hands a little bit more embroiled in the chaos conflict. I think that'd be cool. Like, for example, you're going to have chaos invading dwarves. Let's put Grombrindle up there. He's the white dwarf. In terms of campaign, he appears, right, out of the blue and just like comes and saves the dwarves. He could start like up in the north at like a lost dwarven hold and be defending against a chaos tide. Or, even interestingly enough, Grombrindle could be like a horde faction. I mean, just move him around. I don't know. There's so many weird things you could do with that. So more unique skills for Game 1 Lords and reworking Blue Line. So again, just kind of general reworks for Lords from Game 1. So this is like the, the old school Dwarf Lords. If you look back at, some of the old characters that were like from the first DLCs, man, they are Stone Age. So that's most certainly going to be nice. There was also a brief mention, apparently, that Musion would be a cool campaign to do. So obviously no confirmation or anything terribly solid there, but I think Musion would be an extremely fun campaign. It's something I've always wanted to try. Granted, you can do it with like Faction Unlocker, but I think giving Musion its own cool, like corrupted Bretonnian tree line would be very cool. And I think like if there's a big gap between Warhammer 2 and 3 and you're looking for something to fill it, a Musion campaign would be extremely rich for sure. So, in summary, guys, the really big things are the Siege overhaul. Sieges getting overhauled is really big. The fact that Toddy will have his day, it's a little bit ambiguous in nature, but the fact that it could be something of note, I think is very, very nice. Getting more aesthetics on the battlefield, I think is awesome. Shrines and forests and having these big epic battles like under these kind of, arcane pieces would be so cool. And yeah, really, the Siege overhaul is really big. And of course, news that our rat boy Thanquol is not going to be coming in Game 2. And perhaps it'll be something we see in Game 3, probably like a free LC. He'll probably come with Bone Rippa. Like, I think Thanquol, I wonder if he'll be like a Skarsnik character. Or, it might be a mount. He might like ride. Because if you look at his model from Warhammer, the one that they had in the end times, he actually is riding the giant rat ogre. So it could be something that we see him as like a mount rather than like a Skarsnik thing where they're like a bound character as one. But there you have it, guys. Interesting news. I'm very excited. And I normally don't do, these type of news videos and things like that. But it was so exciting to me that I just wanted to make sure you guys heard this information as well pertaining to Siege reworks and some of the other things that were discussed on that stream. So guys, thank you so much for joining. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe here to the channel. We'll be doing all kinds of stuff. And in the future, I will try and do more, covering upcoming news. I think it's something that is of interest to everyone and it's a lot of fun to do. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Big thanks to Overkill257 for compiling the information and Weston Sammy for these lovely notes here on the old Reddit. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. We'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.